Hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. This is Brandon from freestatecolorado.com with your weekly roundup for January 27th, 2023. The weekly roundup comes out every week, as you may have guessed, going over some of the news articles and stories that you may have missed. I hope this information is useful for you as a liberty minded individual and maybe even as a political activist. Let's get started and take a look. First article I want to talk about today is from kktv.com. That's the CBS affiliate in Colorado Springs. Written by Jared Dean, January 23rd, 2023, just a few days ago. Colorado ranks top 10 in highest gas prices across country, according to AAA. No surprise if you've been out and filled up your gas tank this week, but gas prices are about 40 cents higher than they were just last week. Average in Colorado Springs right now is $3.69 a gallon, and I've seen it higher than that in other parts of the state. Fortunately, this may have something to do with Suncor being shut down by their storm on December 21st, but you have to think this is a sign of things to come because unfortunately we have some politicians, some legislators, and some activists in Colorado who are trying to stop gas powered vehicles from being used. And imagine how expensive gas prices would be if some of these policies get passed. So, gas prices are high. We might not see relief until March. Check out the article to find out more information. But people, this is gas prices going up. A lot of it has to do with the government. They've passed new fees, quote unquote taxes is what they really are, but they've made life more expensive for us. So pay attention and get involved. This is our way of life that's under attack. It's our money being taken out of our paycheck, out of our wallet by a corrupt, out of control government. Moving on to the next article. Boulder County Democratic Party defends process to replace state representative. So, of course, as you may know, if you've been following freestatecolorado.com, Tracy Burnett, Boulder Democrat, resigned on the eve of the legislative session this year. She's been accused of felony indicted, not just accused, but indicted with felony and misdemeanor charges from the Boulder DA for lying about where she lives in order to run for office. So, unfortunately, some residents here in Boulder County area, this is Louisville in this case, is not too happy with how the process is going. Now, if you don't know, there's a vacancy committee. This is standard. Vacancy committee of these 53 Democrats will decide who the new representative is going to be. And unfortunately, it's kind of a wake up call to some of these people in Louisville and in the area who understand or say it very much feels like an insider group and voters are shut out. Of course, that's how politicians want it. They want it to be an insider group pushing out voters. So this person also said it feels like a conflict of interest, especially the view of the fact that the reason we have no one in this seat is because dishonesty and a lack of integrity. So, unfortunately, the Democratic Party of Boulder is not really adhering to a transparent and open conversation with the voters to help them get a replacement for Tracy Burnett. Of course, Tracy Burnett's dishonesty is not only lying to voters, potentially lying to the voters about where she lived in order to run for office, but also, even though she was indicted by a district attorney before the election, she decided to hang on, wait until the legislative session was about to start. Of course, the election was already over at that point, and remove the ability of voters to decide if she should be elected or if somebody else should have been chosen at that time. So, very unfortunate. We'll keep you updated on this. Check out my interview with Teresa Watson of the Boulder County Republican Party if you have not already. Moving on. Fox 31, KDVR.com. From January 20th, 2023, so last week. This is absolutely unbelievable. I mean, if you've ever been in management, if you ever ran a business, if you've ever been part of a company that was in charge of scheduling people, this would be absolutely devastating. There's a bill in the works to require employers, 2 weeks advance scheduling. So, bill in works to require employers 2 weeks advance scheduling. So, Democrat Representative Emily Serrata, she believes that she knows better than business owners than managers. She believes that she has some sort of magic formula worked out where she can force business owners under threat, of course, to adhere to some sort of standard about how they should be scheduling their employees. So, in addition to advanced scheduling, this drafted bill requires employers to give their workers 12 hours between shifts, offer shifts to current employees before hiring outside work, and require quote unquote predictability pay. So Sirota, in her ultimate wisdom here, says, quote, if an employer is going to add hours to the employee's schedule, they would be owed an hour of predictability pay. And if they subtract hours from the schedule, they'd be owed 2 hours of predictability pay at the worker's hourly rate. It's absolutely insane. This is a total Soviet style policy to control how employers are hiring their employees and to control how business is done in Colorado. Emily Sirota is totally ignorant, apparently, in terms of how businesses operate. And I hope this gets soundly defeated. I'll keep an eye on this one, keep you up to date. Moving on. Loveland Reporter Herald is reposting this Denver Post article. This Colorado legislation would remove a state level ban on rent control. So, to continue on some of the horrific legislation we're seeing at the state capitol, top House Democrats, including an avowed socialist, um, are supporting HB 23115, which would allow local municipalities, counties to place rent control. So right now there's a statewide prohibition on local municipalities being able to force property owners and landlords to set rent to their whims and their wills. This would remove that. So absolutely economically ignorant. Of course, when you set price controls, anybody who understands economics know you're going to create shortages. This is going to create a situation in which nobody's going to want to rent out their house or their property, except maybe these big corporate rental companies are the only ones who could afford it. But it's definitely going to drive up the cost of rent and decrease the amount of renting properties available for Colorado. I mean, it's going to have the opposite, as most legislation does. This will have the opposite effect that the legislators think it will. But of course, they think they know best, and they think they can predictably say what rent should be. Um, Absolutely insane. We've seen this happen in Oregon. Of course, New York's a famous example, and it leads to massive housing shortages and really shameful, really shameful. The level of the level of ignorance and the level of authoritarianism we're seeing in the state legislature is beyond anything we've seen in recent years. We currently have three state legislatures who are members of the Democratic Socialists of America Denver group, and they are pushing some ridiculous legislation. So voters need to wake up. People need to start speaking out and standing up before they turn Colorado into a prison worse than California. Moving on. Denver Post. Colorado's population growth hit a wall. Here's what to expect in coming decades. It's been 33 years since the state added this few new residents. So this article is just from a few days ago, January 24th, 2023, from John Aguilar at the Denver Post. But basically, as we all know, people who've been in Colorado a long time or were born here like me know that Colorado's population has been booming, has been skyrocketing. It's led to a lot of issues, of course, traffic, as we'll see soon, crime, high cost of housing. I mean, all of these things are connected to the population boom and the lack of the infrastructure to keep up with this growth. So interesting to see. I thought this was something that people should be aware of, that there's a shift, kind of a landmark shift in terms of how Colorado's population is growing. So less people are moving to Colorado. We've seen that with U-Haul statistics as well. Very interesting to see what kind of trend that will continue. Of course, the high cost and the politics of the authoritarian political class in Colorado have forced a lot of people out of the state, unfortunately. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. There's an estimated 55,000 new residents arriving in Colorado through birth and migration in 2023. So we'll see. According to the census estimates, Colorado currently has 5.8 million people as of last year. So of course, all of these people moving here there's some positives that come with that. Of course, people bringing money, people bringing labor and skills to help develop our economy and provide new business opportunities. But of course, there's some negatives as well, as we'll see. Moving on to the next article. A deadly year. This is from the denvergazette.com from January 23rd, 2023. 745 died in Colorado road crashes in 2023. Excuse me, in 2022. 745 dead, 2022. I mean, it's tragic. Of course, I think most of us have known somebody who might have passed away or lost a life in a car crash. So be careful out there. This is a symptom, of course, of the population growth and the inability of the roads and the infrastructure to keep up with with all the new people, right? You can't build a road as fast as you can get new people on the road driving. Fortunately, this is a 57% increase from 10 years ago. And actually, 36% of those people who died outside of the vehicle. So that's pedestrians, motorcyclists, and bicyclists. Of course, be careful. And if you're a pedestrian or never, just be careful out there, people. Very sad and very unfortunate that this is happening. Seatbelt use in Colorado is about 87%. So, I mean, people are wearing their seatbelts. They also say that 25% of impaired drivers in fatal crashes had more than one substance in their blood. Well, it's not too surprising. But deaths are up on the road, unfortunately. So be careful. And yeah, unfortunately, some politicians are going to try and use this to push new driving standards and other ridiculous things. But there we go. Moving on. This is from the Denver Gazette, January 21st, 2023. Updated on the 24th, a few days ago. FBI data does not support Polis's claim that Colorado is in the middle of the pack on crime. Jared Polis, an authoritarian politician in Denver from Boulder, had a State of the State address on Tuesday, where, of course, he made very many strange and dishonest statements, some of which was right now, quote, this is Polis, quote, right now, Colorado falls in the middle of the pack on crime rates, but that's not good enough. So Polis is trying to some people say gaslighting, that's a popular term these days, but I just prefer lying or being dishonest, maybe not having all the information if we want to be charitable. Colorado's not in the middle of the pack. Colorado is above the national average in crime. As we've seen with stories, we'll see one here soon. There's been so much crime. I mean, people getting shot, stabbed, run over, hurt, robbed from in Denver, in Pueblo, Colorado Springs, and northern Colorado every day, unfortunately. But according to the Denver Gazette, crime data from the FBI shows Colorado's crime numbers are substantially higher than the national rate. So right now, according to the FBI, it's 481 violent crime rate per 100,000 residents as of 2021 at least. Nationally, it's 395 per 100,000 people. So pretty substantial, actually, a pretty substantial bump. And we've seen plenty of articles. I got a resource on the Telegram channel at freestate.me/Free State Colorado, going over the record crime wave that Colorado is experiencing. And unfortunately, a lot of that does have to do with Jared Polis's policies. The crime that we've seen is from some government policies. I would say, in particular, the COVID tyranny that we experienced kind of broke down society, pushed some people over the edge, and created a lot of new opportunity for bad things to happen. So Jared Polis is completely one of the people responsible for the problems that we're seeing in our state, and very disappointed that voters decided to send him back to the office. But here we go, and here we are. So of course, no surprise that politicians lie or politicians skew statistics to present a rosier picture or to present that they're right on certain things. But good on the Denver Gazette for calling Polis out on his wrong misinformation. Moving on. Here's a perfect example of the crime that we've been seeing in Colorado, a very frightening thing for a rideshare driver. On January 1st of this year, somebody was basically kidnapped who was a Lyft or an Uber driver. They don't say which one, but a man is wanted for kidnapping after threatening rideshare driver with gun. This is from KDVR.com, Fox 31, January 24th, 2023, Morgan Whitley's article. So unfortunately, in the heart of downtown Denver, near Central Union Station Apartments, 1700 block of Chestnut Place in the Union Station neighborhood, so right downtown, a man with a gun got into the rideshare vehicle and forced them to drive him over to a King Soopers in Lakewood, basically to just get a free ride, apparently. So this is happening all the time in Colorado. Not this in particular, of course, but crime like this. Strange stories about people using violence against each other, threatening to use violence against each other to get their way. And of course, what do the politicians want to do? They want to take away guns from law-abiding people. There's no gun law on the books or being proposed that would have stopped this from happening. What we need is an armed society of trained gun owners who are the good guys to be able to stop bad guys like this in their tracks. If you've seen this guy, please turn him in. This is actually shameful behavior. Moving on. Complete Colorado, page 2. Original reporting. Check out CompleteColorado.com every day. Tons of great information. It's one of the resources I use to track what's happening in our state. This article is from Ari Armstrong from January 24th, 2023. He says, abolitionist state rep pushes for police war on gun owners. Today's leftist progressive liberals often take decidedly illiberal stands against the Second Amendment and the fundamental human right of defense. So Representative Elizabeth Epps, who just like the guy we talked about in the rent control, is a member of the Democratic Socialists of America, the Denver chapter there, an avowed socialist who proclaims that she ran for office to stop police terror on crime on communities of color. And this is the language they use: police terror on communities of color. And sure, that does happen, but Elizabeth Epps is going to make sure it happens more often. Elizabeth Epps is calling herself an abolitionist, meaning she wants to eliminate police and prisons. So, of course, what does she do now that she's in the state legislature? She co sponsors a bill that would basically create more situations of police terror on the communities of color because who are they going to target on these gun laws? Who do you think the police are going to go after? Use this as an excuse to target these marginalized communities already? I mean, Elizabeth Epps is either totally delusional or is completely dishonest about her socialist credentials. This is shameful, and hopefully, the people that surround her that got her into office hold her accountable for this ridiculous police empowerment legislation. So, to read from the article, it's a great article. You got to read it. You'll see the link below. The bill, as originally drafted, pertains to so called assault weapons, including handguns, an arbitrary category that targets select semi automatic guns that are functionally identical to other semi automatics. The bill, quote, prohibits a person from possessing, manufacturing, importing, purchasing, selling, offering to sell, or transferring ownership of an assault weapon, end quote. So continues, true, existing holders of such guns were grandfathered in, so long as they are prepared to present their ownership papers to prove their innocence under this perverse measure. So, of course, Epps is going to create more police violence in society if her little anti-gun measures pass. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's actually, it'd almost be comical if it wasn't so horrific. Check out the article. Moving on. I'm going to finish today with my article here from freestatecolorado.com, my weekly article that went up this Wednesday, 2022 Election in Review, Part 2, State Senate. And thank you very much to CompleteColorado.com for sharing this article as well. Um, for a lot of people, I understand the 2022 election is ancient history. It was a couple months ago. We're into a new election cycle now. But I think it's important to look back, see what happened, analyze the results so that we can plan for the future. There is opportunity here, in particular for the Republican Party of Colorado to pick up some Senate seats. These 3 Senate districts in Colorado during the 2022 election were the tightest margins out of any other races. So very important to see what happened and to go from there. So Senate District 3, give you some background here, but Senate District 3, Democrat won with 33,000 votes. The Republican lost with 32,000 votes, a 1,705 vote differential. I mean, that was very, very close, especially because Senate District 3 in the past was a very Democratic stronghold. Leroy Garcia won handily in 18 and 14. Now it is a swing district under redistricting. So, of course, Pueblo back in 2016, you may remember, went for Trump. Very surprising to some people. Sure, only 390 votes made the difference of going for Trump over Clinton at the time. And Biden narrowly beat Trump in 2020 in Pueblo County with 1,500 votes. But very interesting to see that there's massive opportunity in Pueblo County. I also dig into the spending if you're interested in that. The Democrat who won spent $169,000, at least their campaign did. The Republicans' campaign spent 138,000. Of course, there's big outside money. It's unbelievable to see the dollars pouring into the state from Washington, D.C. and outside groups trying to influence our elections. Absolutely shocking to see millions of dollars being spent on state legislative races. Take a look at it if you want to dig in. There's Pueblo County here. I think it is actually a great opportunity for Republicans. It might become the new Republican stronghold if the GOP can get their act together. Of course, the horrific crime and gang violence in Pueblo County has really caused a lot of problems. And I think a lot of the voters and citizens are looking for solutions. They're looking for leaders. They're looking for somebody to help their community out. So, of course, a very traditional community with Hispanic and Catholic heritage. Republicans are better at those values than Democrats. So, start now. If you're a Republican in Pueblo County, start now to start working on that, building that county up because there's great opportunity there. One of the other state Senate districts I wrote about was District 11. That's El Paso County, Colorado Springs area. Yes, a Democrat did win in El Paso County. Very unfortunate. Fortunately, Democrat Pete Lee had won before, much more handily because of the area that it's in. Now, under redistricting, District 11 is much, much more competitive. So in 2022, only 2,216 votes separated the winner from the loser. Tony Exum unfortunately won with 49% of the vote at 20,250. Dennis Hizzy, who actually just got appointed to State Board of Education, lost with 44% of the vote, 18,000 votes in total. The Libertarian, Daryl Cooper had 5.5% of the vote, 2,264 votes difference. So Cooper, of course, is considered a spoiler because he got more votes than the margin of victory between the two main candidates of the two bigger parties. However, I would hesitate to say that Cooper stole all those votes from the Republican. I think it's a misconception that libertarians pull votes primarily from Republicans. They do pull votes from Democrats and unaffiliated voters who would not have voted for the Republican candidate. So very interesting. Of course, El Paso County is a very strong Republican stronghold, with Trump winning there in 16 and 20. Spending was pretty crazy as well. Exum's campaign 165,000, Hissey's campaign 122,000, and Cooper's campaign reported $0. Of course, some of the same actors we saw in the previous race, where Exum and Hissey got some of their support from. But El Paso County, there's no reason there should be a blue color there. So El Paso County Republicans must ensure their grip on the county and do everything in their power to push out Democratic voters. Moving on to District 15, the third district I talked about, Democrat Janice Marchman got 50% of the vote with 43,000 votes. Republican Rob Woodward got 49% of the vote with 42,000 votes. Margin of victory was only 1,014 votes in 2022. I mean, that is shockingly close. Unfortunately, a lot of people thought the Republican Rob Woodward was a shoo-in, so maybe he didn't get as much support as he probably should have. Unfortunately, Senate District 15 now also includes part of Boulder County. So, you know, Woodward run previously, Lundberg won previously, running unopposed. That's how strong District 15 was for the Republicans back then. But now, of course, that Boulder County is part of the district, it's changed. So in Larimer County, as you may expect, Woodward won with 53% of the vote, 38,000 votes. So 38,000 votes from Larimer, 4,000 votes from Boulder County. Marchman, of course, won in Boulder with 73% of the vote, but that's only 10,000 votes because Senate District 15 only covers part of Boulder. So 10,000 votes for Marchman, and then her 33,000 votes, unfortunately, she got from Larimer County as well. So very competitive race. The spending was pretty wild, particularly on the Democratic side. But as you can see, Larimer County went red, Boulder County went blue, and because the district is split, those little extra votes in Boulder pushed them over the edge for Marchman. So definitely check this out. I also go through some of the non-competitive Senate races that we saw in 2022, Republican strongholds, Democratic strongholds, and then some final thoughts about what Republicans can do to flip the state legislature, flip the state Senate in particular. Even though I'm a registered libertarian, I do think that libertarians should be focusing entirely on the municipal and local races, where Republicans should really be focusing on the state level races. So check out that article here at freestatecolorado.com. And I thank you very much for joining me this week. Got a lot of fun stuff in the works. This coming Monday, you'll see an interview with Dave Williams, a former state representative. It was an awesome conversation. I hope you enjoy it. And then got some more stuff working on as well. So thank you very much. This is Brandon from freestatecolorado.com signing off for this week. We'll see you next time.